Hey guys, it's Wes from St. Carlos United. I'm here with Gio Gomes. He just recently finished his last season of Menlo College, and he's looking to travel to Brazil and play for what's the club?
Goiânia Esporte Clube. It's a second division team.
Yeah. So today's topic, we're basically going to be talking about two things. One is the importance of training, and I can tell you the things in training will always reflect on the field. Whether it's that's your etiquette or if that's your normal behavior or simply the habits that you bring from training into the game, and that can be the simplest things, whether it's making sure that you're listening for objectives and goals from the coach, or simply communicating with your teammates. And Gio is here also to kind of go through along the lines of how he experienced Menlo College, as he was a college captain, and we go from there. I think the first thing that let's talk about is how do players view training, and especially when I was growing up, players viewed it as a step to get to the next level. How did they view it in the college environment?
I mean, I feel like in a college environment, they always have that feeling of it's very very short. So a college season is super short. It's like 5 months basically, and the training sessions start from preseason to the end of the year. You kind of work along the time periods that you have because you're playing games throughout the week, and the time of development of the position wise or tactically, and positioning of the team. As a coach, I think seeing my coach didn't really have much time to work on it. So I think it's really important for college, for those about to get to college, that it's a time where your preseason and your beginning of your season is very very important, and that off season during spring is super important to get yourself ready and prepared, because in fall you're basically thinking about the results in games, and you can't really work on you don't have a week to prepare for a match. You have sometimes a day, and that day you're doing recovery. So it's along the lines of basically having a lot of trouble dealing with needing to work on some things that you see in a game that you messed up, and having to work on it at training sessions.
Would you say the training sessions that before games and after games, did it prep you enough for the game, or did you have to do more outside of that as well?
I definitely had to do more, because of me. I played a good amount of minutes, and coming in as a starter and playing 90 minutes a game, I would have to do recovery the next day. But yet again, I had to maybe go for a run and do some extra work if I didn't get much. Some games are different. Some games you don't get many touches. Like me as a midfielder, it's always said in the world that midfielders have to touch the ball throughout the whole game, and sometimes the game can be kind of long, and all the balls are going to the top and going over, and it can kind of mess you up. So I think prepping myself for the games is, and it's very important. But having other parts of my day, having to do a little bit extra, if it's going for a bike, or going for a run, or doing something technical a little bit on the field, something we have a big wall at Menlo, which really helps to just throw the ball and I just receive by myself, and little touches that it may not be much. It's 5, 10, 15 minutes, but after a training session, after my recovery, it's a good way to keep in shape and keep in your touches at the way you want it.
No, definitely. Let's go back a little bit. When I was growing up, I know the fields were quite open, and all the time it was all grass. And the equipment back in 2005, 2006 was not equivalent to what we have nowadays.
No.
Let's talk so. What would you do? I know what I did is grab ball bags and head to the field and work on the simplest things that I noticed that I could be better at, whether it was in training. Also, it was the things that I enjoyed, kind of just through experimenting. Whether it's trying to hit a ball with certain technique, or utilizing both of my feet, left and right. What are some of the things that you would say that kind of helped you get to where you're at right now?
I mean, when you say so nowadays, there's equipment, there's more things you can do. Back then, you maybe just had a ball and you went to the field, or a bag of balls. growing up in Brazil, I didn't have much. I had maybe one ball, and it was not a good ball. And sometimes, had to kind of like make a sock or something, like just use anything as a ball. And
Okay.
kind of like, I think I feel like kids nowadays, like, when they go out to parks or like just outside their house and they're playing like with friends, they're training in some sort of way. They are training their creativity. They're having fun. That's where the creativity comes from. So when I was growing up, I didn't have much. I had a backyard full of gravel, so didn't have a field. The field was not for like an hour away. I could not ride my bike there because it was dangerous, and could not like my dad couldn't drive me. But I found ways of training where I had the garage where I would set chairs, like folding chairs or whatever chairs, or set like shoes and use it as cones, and basically do that. Play a ball against the wall, strike a ball against the wall, and just try to control it. Have like the cones or the shoes be cones for me, and you go around them and do some sprints, do some stuff like against the wall, holding myself against the wall, like these things that like I kind of learned throughout the years. But when I was younger, it was kind of tough, but I still got to have fun and play. Like having the ball and dribbling around my house. I had a long hallway, and then I had a bunch of I had a big table, and I had like a little space where I had to go through, and I would just dribble around the house barefoot. Just dribble my dad, try to nutmeg my dad while he's cooking, try to nutmeg my family that would probably be there. When there's friends over, we would always like try to play and like try to dribble around the house. A lot of things were like kind of broken, but I mean, it was part of it, and like it happens. But it's basically like having the time. Like for me, it was just having that little time where I could just dribble and have fun with the ball no matter what was going on.
Did you have like a set schedule? Because I know I think I used any free time or any chance that I could get to go to the field, and I was pretty lucky that the field was always like it was like 5 minutes walk from me. So I was pretty lucky in terms of the opportunity that I was given. However, like did you set any like set times like what you would focus on going to the field? Or would you like set a time like I go here every day at this time, or is it because I know as a kid your parents always have an influence on your what you do throughout the day. Do you set your time, or does your parents set the time?
I mean, I kind of set my time, I would say, because I was living at home with my parents, well, with my dad. My mom was here, and I was living with my dad, and we would go, he had to work in the morning, so I would just play around the house with the ball, and when we would come back after work, we would go down the road. We would walk down the road to this park, and we would run. Me and him, and he would time me. I try to do the run in 3 laps, and it would be like 30 minutes. I always try to get like 28, 25, but I always hit like 29. And then it started going down because I kept going more and more, and I would try to do it every like at least 3 times a week. So if I couldn't do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I would do it Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, because Sunday was like basically a day off, like for my dad also. So it's just I didn't plan it. It's just like I wanted to go out. I wanted to do something instead of being in the house. And I always had like places, like I didn't have a field, but I did have like a little space where I can use. And throughout my times that I like didn't have to do homework, and I was done with it, and I didn't I could have been watching TV. I was just like I'm just gonna go outside and dribble a ball, or like I'm gonna go to like the corner of my house and try to just hit a ball against the wall, or in my room. My room was not that small, but it was very vague. It was just a bed and a table, and didn't really have much. They didn't have a computer or TV or anything, so I would just throw the ball against the wall, like control it, and just those little times. But never really a set schedule, like I'm going to train this day and I'm going to train this time. Not like how it is today.
What about camps and clinics? I know when I grew up, there was not that many camps and clinics.
Yeah, that's like a new thing now.
Yeah. I feel like it's a platform for like a lot of players are able to express themselves in an organized platform to where it's kind of beneficial, because back then it's kind of more about experimenting. Training on your own is all about experimenting, right? Being able to recognize what your strengths are or what you really want to be strong at. So you kind of just like refine in those smallest details, like what you really want to be good at, and then you move on to the next and move on to the next. What about one-on-one professional training? Did you receive any one-on-one training? Or
I did actually.
Okay.
I received when I was playing in Brazil and I was U16, I believe. I received private training from this private trainer that he was currently training with a professional team, a first division professional team, and he was good friends with my dad. So he did a session with me at a close by, like at a field that was like, it was 45 minutes away, but I would do it twice a week. So my dad would drive me twice a week at night because it's the only time that we had time. So I would do it late at night. I was U16, like I was like 15 years old and like going at like 8:30 at night and going and training for an hour with him, but it helped me because he knew a lot. He was like very experienced. So I did do a lot of private training. Clinics, never really did clinics. The futsal clinic that we had, I never had that. I wish I did. Never had these clinics that they have here that they, offer here in the United States. In Brazil, there are a lot of clinics towards futsal because at a young age you start with futsal, so you don't start playing on the field right away. So I did do 2 futsal clinics where I learned a lot, and it helped me till now. I can always say that it always helped me till today. But yeah, I did have private sessions where it was mostly like my fitness. It was mostly like trying to get me my fitness, and he also knew a lot about like technical work with the ball, so he worked with me a lot, and it did help me a lot. That 1 hour twice a week helped me so much, and it gets me more like it's more detail about yourself. And he knew that I was a midfielder and wanted to be a midfielder. So okay, I'm going to do stuff specifically for midfielders. Okay. You don't have to be jumping up and getting crazy headers out of the the air. You don't have to do stuff that center backs do but I can help you with a lot of midfielder things, which is like touching, moving, trying to receive the ball differently, trying to receive with pressure, and it helped me a lot.
Did you ever go to the field with friends and so on, and kind of pass the knowledge? Because I know during one-on-one sessions you get a lot of information, and it's a lot of things that you don't really expect to just continue to do over and over, because I feel that one-on-one sessions are based on supporting a player's strength and what their aspirations and what they want to become, whether it's a great midfielder, a great defender, a great striker, or wingers, or even the goalkeeper, right? So did you ever pass on that knowledge? Did you always kind of find that time and niche to utilize that information to not only support yourself with a group of friends, because it's more than just a one-on-one now. It's you can create 2v2s, and you can create a group, and you can get a little bit more complex. Did you ever find that within your time of when you received training?
I mean, yeah, I found myself I would train with, so in the club I would train with specific groups. So I would train with the midfielders and the forwards a lot, and the center backs and outside backs and keepers would train a lot together, and then we would come in together at the end of the session. Kind of if the 04s know, this is kind of what we were doing, but I did do that a lot, and I would get the midfielders. It wasn't me. I wasn't really the leader of the group, but one of the other guys, he would ask us to go to his. In Brazil, there's a lot of apartments that have courts, and we would go to the court and play in the court, and we would train, and we would kind of use what our coaches said throughout the week, and we would implement that in for ourselves. But then after, we would play we'll do the training that we did at practice, plus doing other stuff that we find on YouTube for midfielders, and then we would end with a little game, a little scrimmage on the small court.
Since you mentioned that YouTube, did you ever utilize that to kind of inspire yourself to try and experiment and do things on the field?
Oh, yes.
All the time?
YouTube is the best thing I've ever had in my life. Oh, my God.
What were some of the players that you used to watch a lot?
I watched a lot of Ricardo Kaká. I watched a lot of Ronaldinho. I watched a lot of... Growing up, I always loved Iniesta, the way he played. Pirlo, his dimes, the balls that he gives. I watched a lot of strikers. When I was growing up, I did I had a good thing about Van Persie. I like Van Persie, how he played. Nowadays, everyone likes Messi and Cristiano and Neymar and Mbappe and all them. But back then, I had a good amount of players that I looked up to, and I always watched them. Kaká, if you guys don't know, I always watched his speed and how technical he was, and how he worked so hard. He's a guy that I really admired growing up, and I would always watch videos on his training by himself, and I always try to go outside and try to do it. And then I would watch skill moves from like Neymar when he was younger, because when I was playing academy, he was starting up in Santos in Brazil. So I would watch his skills and like the different tricks that he'd do, and I would try to do it myself. And I would try probably one or two of them in a game because I would be kind of scared. I'm not really a guy who does tricks, but yeah, I did use YouTube a lot to help me throughout the years.
I think that's part of the process too, right? It's kind of like watching these players watching the game, and yeah, everyone has their favorite player from club to country.
Yeah.
I think it's really great that
But it is weird because when I was younger, I would watch the crazy skillful players that like do all these tricks, and then now I'm watching players like I caught myself watching Billy Gilmore the other day.
Yeah.
I was just watching like if you guys don't know, Billy Gilmore is like 18 years old, plays for Chelsea, and now is like the last two matches he got man of the match and started, and he's an absolute like wonderful player. But I just started like after you grow up and after you start to tend to like see different things. I tend to see now as a midfielder, I tend to see like the spaces that they get in and the spaces that other midfielders are getting in, and how like they turn their head and how like they're aware of their surroundings. So as you grow up, I just tended to see like a lot of different things. Like you go from wanting to see the guy who does crazy tricks and scores like goals out of like crazy goals to seeing the detail. Yeah. It gets down to like the detail of like now I'm trying to get into that space. Now I'm trying to get into a different space. I'm trying to move in here. So it's crazy how that happens.
So watching other players, did that ever like cause you to self-reflect during training? Maybe like you watch all these videos of like seeing how like he was very technical. Did you try to repeat yourself and kind of self-evaluate during your training sessions or even games as well?
I mean, yeah. I mean, there needs to be a purpose for everything, I think. So if you're trying to do that, there's a purpose. So I think throughout like trainings and throughout like watching the videos, I would always be like, I never really asked. I never really was the one to like question like, why am I doing this, or like, why do I have to do this? I always just wanted to learn and wanted to like have more information, and I think it would help me. It would benefit me like a lot. I watched a lot of futsal videos because I was playing futsal, so I watched a lot of like Falco and like all his skills, and I would try to implement it, but it wasn't really a point where like I didn't know why. So the fitness I do, the trainings I do nowadays, I know why I'm doing it. There's a purpose for it. There's a reason why I'm doing it. And back then, I never really had the thought of like, why am I going to do this? Like, why do I have to do this? I never really thought like that. It was just, oh, I want to learn how to do this. I want to,
experiment.
Yeah,
right?
I want to experiment. It's only going to benefit me if I try.
Yeah.
There's no way you can go down. You can only go up if you're going to like want to learn more, I believe.
What about like throughout the training sessions after receiving like training 1-on-1 or players that go to camps and stuff, and how did you self-reflect? Whether it's that before, during, or the training session? Because I know during the training session, self-reflecting is always important. Kind of like if you go through one session or the stage one of the session, you kind of like self-reflect, like, okay, did I really meet my expectations, the standards? Did we reach your objectives? And then what's next? If I didn't, I'd always be like, okay, if I didn't do it this time, I'd try it, another time. I'd find the right moment, whether that's to, create a good habit or a good ethic of work. So I think, one of the things that is super, super important is the self-reflecting. But how did you? Let's go back to your Menlo season. How did you find the moments to self-reflect? Did you find yourself in any position where, things gotten tough and, you struggled to find solutions? How did you overcome those challenges?
I mean, throughout the Menlo season, throughout the spring season, it was very good. That's when you're getting to know everyone and you're getting to know your new players and everything and how they play, and sometimes they may not click. There were times where, the training sessions could be it was a little what not we expected. It wasn't what we expected. It wasn't what the coaching staff would expect it to be, but that was like the part of learning to play with each other. And there were times where, you found yourself after a game, like we didn't have many losses, but the one day that we did lose to when we were in LA, the second game before we came back, we lost. And we all self-reflected, like our whole team, especially me and the other two captains. We sat down with the coach and, we talked to him about what we could do and how we can like change this and how we can.
Nothing's fine.
Oh really?
Yeah. It should be
Okay.
fine.
How we can change it, and it never really was a point of like, oh, like we messed up, now we got like we're lost, we don't know what to do. But it's more of like, oh, I guess now we can just get back. For me myself, self-reflecting on myself, I always set goals every game. We would always, like in college, you always look at the opponent. You always watch like their games before, and you always see like which player, like which side do they play mostly on, like
Yeah.
who's their star player, who's the one that they're gonna mostly play around. So I would set goals for myself for that, and if I didn't meet those goals, I want to be bummed and sad, and be like, oh, I'm sad. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna want to hang out with my friend. I'm not gonna do anything. No, I'm just like, hey, I didn't set those goals, so now I got I gotta make it better at practice, and then now it's the next game, because that's the good thing about like playing soccer and playing the season. You always have that next game where you can be better. If you didn't meet your goals at this game, it's okay. Like you work towards it, you work throughout the week, and then you meet the goals next week. And if you don't, then you keep going. It's a process that goes every year, every year. I'm pretty sure all the professional players all set goals for themselves. There's no way they don't. They play at a high level, so there's no way they don't set goals. And I always wanted to set goals for myself. For me, it was like if I'm a winger, I want to, my dad always told me, like, if you play on the wing and you play outside back, like, you got to say, like, oh, I want to, receive the ball and go down the line this many times. I have to make this many crosses. I have to shoot the ball this many times. Little things like that, I have to touch the ball, and like I only want to miss like 3 passes today. We're in this drill. I'm only gonna mess up like twice. If I mess up more than twice, okay, then I know I need to need to fix on that. But little things like that, I think that can go a long way, and that's always what I did throughout the seasons at Menlo.
Yeah, I think the self reflection part is super important to to develop, not only in the game but as an individual, whether that's on and off the field. But to kind of just like go through not the motions, but kind of go through the phase of like, yeah, what did we do this week? What was the main focus? How did I comprehend with it? Did I run into any challenges? Did I find solutions? I think it's important to always kind of find that that little bit of reflection of, okay, if I did really well, what can I do better at? It breaks it down in details, whether it's that, you're really good in possession, however, maybe the communication could have got a little bit better. So there's always like those small area and key details that, you always have to self-reflect in, because I feel like if we don't look at that, we let it get to a point where it becomes a bad habit, because then you start ignoring, I need to get better at this. I'm always told so. Maybe I need to do a little reflection, like, okay. Yeah, maybe it's right. Yeah,
if you ignore it, you're not gonna
sure.
You're not gonna grow. And everyone makes mistakes. I think everyone has their day off, and it's just if you can go beyond that, and everyone can. It's just like it's within yourself, really.
What about evaluating? Like, I know after every session, I used to evaluate myself, whether that's playing from the academy or playing for a semi-professional team, or playing in college even.
Like evaluating yourself after practice?
Yeah, after practice it was kind of important. Even I would evaluate myself after what's it called? When I was training at the field by myself, I would always evaluate myself. I would be like, did I really set out some goals and objectives for myself, and did I reach those? What was the purpose behind going to the field today? And it can be the simplest thing, that I go and have fun. If I didn't have fun, then I need to really evaluate and be like, okay, what did I do even? Mm-hmm. did I do something I was told to do, or was I doing something that I really think I want to work on?
Yeah.
Not because someone influenced me, but it's because I recognize it by my own self-reflection, or my own evaluating of the previous training session. Because I know I've gone to the field even after going through a 2-hour training session. I've gone back to the field near my house, and I've stayed there for about 2-3 more hours, because I felt that it wasn't good enough. I felt that sometimes it's just like it wasn't enough. Maybe it's because the topic of the day wasn't really in my favor, or I didn't really enjoy it.
It's hard when like you play the position, like maybe the training session is like specific for a type of like position or a player, and like the overall of the practice isn't really towards you, and you got to kind of work on it more. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So What I know after games, like, what are some of the things that you evaluate yourself on the during? I would say middle and the ending of the game, because I know like I would evaluate myself before going into the game. Am I
Yeah.
ready? Am I healthy? Was I able to watch the video to get information on the team? Did I even spend enough time speaking with the coach? Kind of asking questions. Did I talk with my teammates to kind of understand how
Yeah.
they want things to go um, on and off the field? Whether that's your habits, because I know get training habits transfer right over to the game. So evaluation. Did you evaluate yourself in terms of like how you did, how well you did, or how what you needed to do for the next, what you needed to look forward on? Because I know sometimes evaluating yourself on the game can be very critical, and it is a part of the game. It
Yeah.
is a part of it, but did you evaluate yourself in the way that you support yourself to grow? Did you evaluate yourself on you find like key moments of the game, whether it's why you lost the ball or why you won the ball that time? What do you look into, the negatives, the positives, and so on?
So at Menlo, this last season, of course, like me being a captain and being on the field right away, I kind of like already evaluated myself as like, am I going into a locker room and providing that energy for my team? Am I gonna, I always. So we had three captains, me, Michael Weber, and Angelo Willie, two guys from Switzerland and me from Brazil. They tend to be a little bit more, away and like they're a little bit older than me. So I tended to try to engage more with the team and with the players as a captain. And I found that like to be super beneficial and super helpful because during games and during pregame match, like when we're hanging out in the locker room, I'm already like engaging with them and talking to them and getting myself in the right mindset. And pregame in the warm up, that's when all that conversation's over and I'm preparing myself like physically and mentally for the game. When the game starts, of course, being a captain, like for myself and playing in the middle, like in the middle position, I always tended to be like, I need to take action. I need to try to control. I need to set the tempo. I need to know what's going to happen. I need to know what the other team is doing, and if they change their game plan towards ours, I need to figure that out right away so I can communicate with my keeper, my center backs, my forward. They're like, oh, they're not playing a 4-3-3 now. They're playing a 3-5-2, and they switched. Like, let's do this now. But throughout the game, I always evaluated like, okay, like was that a good ball, or like should if I gave a ball and I messed up the pass, I'd be like, okay, was that like really the best option? Like, was that really like the ball that like I should have like either held it a little bit more, or should I just like played it to my other player that was closer instead of trying to play it through? And this self-evaluate, like, it's weird because you think of it right away. If you mess up, you're like, oh,
Yeah,
I should have done that.
yeah,
It's weird. It's like, I should have done that. I was like, oh, he was open? Oh, man, like, I should have passed it to him. But I think throughout the game, like, I always evaluated myself. Like, if the shot was on target, I'd be like, okay, that was a shot on target. The goalkeeper kind of, like, spilled it out, and we could have got a goal. Okay, that's positive. Or, like, if the shot was on target, but, it was not really a strong shot and didn't really work the keeper, like, okay, that was not positive at all. The next shot I'm going to get it, either to the corner of the keeper or right, a stronger shot right on him so he can spill it for my striker. I was always evaluating me every day, every game. I always evaluated throughout the game because I'm always thinking throughout the game. Of course, it's like soccer's super like mental game, like thinking of like the next step, thinking of the next play. Like some of the players, like nowadays we say like you got to think like twice before you
Yeah.
receive the ball. You got to think. If you can play here, if not, you got to play over there. If not,
Yeah,
you got to
exactly.
either keep
Have a
it. So
backup plan.
yeah, you got to have backup
Alternatives.
to what's going on. And I think throughout the game, after the game, I always evaluated myself. If I knew I like messed up some things, I always knew like, hey, like we had a good game, we got the result, but I messed up here. I messed up here. I did this where it could have cost us a game. It could have cost us a goal. So I'm always like, you can be satisfied with the result, but you can be not satisfied with your performance, where it can help you a lot. Because I think if you're satisfied with the result, but your performance wasn't really, to the standard that you want it to be, but you're satisfied with that, I think that's a big problem.
Yeah.
So I think you setting yourself like a goal like that, basically like that standard, it always helped me because we could win 5-0, but if I messed up the pass, if I messed up like five, like the beginning of the game, if I messed up 5 passes, that's gonna get me till the end of the game. I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna be upset about that till the end of the game. We won 5-0. We got the result, but it doesn't matter. I still missed those 5 passes, and that still messed me up, and that still, got me thinking. So I'm always evaluating myself every day, every practice, every training, every game, in between a game, during a game. And being a captain, I always evaluate myself as a captain also. Like, am I leading the team? Am I communicating with them, really? Am I, at halftime, am I talking to them? Do I need to talk to them? Maybe sometimes no. We had 3 captains, and all of us were starters. So it was easy because we can all talk or we can not talk. But, like, in the huddles, like, before the game, I was never really the one to talk. Michael Weber. But, he was always the one that, like, kind of gave the pep talk and gave us, like, always saying that, like, we knew we were going to win the game. We knew we were going to go in for a fight. We knew we were going to go in and battle for the score and get a result and be happy. But, yeah, always evaluating myself throughout the game, in between, the middle, before, as a player, as a midfielder, and as a captain. I think that's a little bit harder, too. You got to do a little bit more as a captain, too.
Yeah, I think, being a captain, self-evaluating not only yourself, but people around you. Did you ever have like expectations for people around you, and your teammates, your coaches, and obviously, did you evaluate them? Because I know it's not our responsibility to evaluate other people, but I think it's healthy, even especially being a captain. I think it's healthy because if there's something that could it's not clicking, that could potentially if it was clicking, a lot could be accomplished. Were you ever evaluating other people at that point too as well?
I never really did that like before, but this past season, to be honest, we did. Us 3 captains, we spoke a lot on our group chat, just us 3, and we kind of, when we lost our first game of the season, we kind of knew that like we had to make some changes. So we went to the coaching staff right away and we spoke to them about some of the changes, which was, this might sound weird, we moved a holding midfielder to a center back position. We moved me to a striker position, and we moved our formation to a 4-4-2 with two midfielders, and Michael was the one playing up top with our other striker, and he got moved back. So we had our 3 captains who were kind of close together spread out along the field, and after that, it went perfect. Like, we played super well. We had possession of the ball most of the game. We were connecting passes. The conversations were well. During training sessions, we were trying to we were kind of like the more experienced players, some with also with some of the senior group. So we would also like talk to the freshmen. Like, we would also like talk to them like, oh, you can do this. Like, instead of getting to him, invite the pass in. Invite the pass. Like, let them do the throw in and invite the pass in. Let the ball come and then you can go and step. So there were always little moments where we were always evaluating. Like, me myself, I always evaluate like, oh, was that like a drill that like we could have done like a little bit different, but like. It's the coaching staff. I'm going to, go for whatever they want to do and what they chose for the training session, of course. It's going to benefit you. It can't bring you down. It can always benefit you. But, yeah, we always evaluate, like, oh, was that, like, the right thing to do? Like, was that, especially us as captains and having, like, experience around the field, we always talk to the coaching staff. And they also were okay because they talked to us in the beginning saying, okay, like, we can, this is a group where we are all like working together. So if you guys have some input, because our coach always told me that he can help as much as he can on the field or out of the field, but in the field, we're the ones that are playing. Yeah, we're the ones that are over there. The responsibility is all on us because we see what's going on. He might not see it, but we see what's going on because we're on the field. We see like, oh, the passes are connecting, like this and this and this. Yeah. And he may be seeing something different sitting on the sideline. He may be seeing something completely different than we are, and so we always spoke to him, even at halftime. We always said, like, oh, well, this is happening. They're shifting the outside back a little bit higher, There, we can find that gap with the outside winger. Instead of trying to go through centrally, we can play on the wing and then find a ball in, So there's things that, like, he didn't really notice, but we did playing. So he always gave us that, like, that pleasure of, like, you guys are on the field. I need you guys to be aware and let me know because I can only do so much. Yeah. I can only provide all the tools, but you got, my dad always said, like, I can build a car, but I'm not going to drive it. Yeah. You're going to drive it. I can build it for you. I can give you all the tools to build it. Exactly. We can both build it together, but I can't drive it. I don't know how to drive. You're gonna have to drive it. So I think that falls in place right away with like every team.
Yeah, I think that's sort of like the responsibility bit of it as well. Um, with all the self-evaluating and self-reflecting, do you think when you were a kid and leading up to this point, if there was more clinics or and camps, do you think that would have supported you, or do you think did that self-reflecting and self-evaluating support yourself when you went to go train on your own? But do you think if there was camps and clinics, do you think it would have been a pretty big impact, or do you think the one-on-one training session or the self-training session supported you more?
I mean, I did the self and the private session, the one-on-one session, but I think having I had no competition.
Yeah.
I had no competition. No one was playing against me. It was me against the cone.
Yeah.
I didn't have an opponent, so I think it can be beneficial. It helped me, but I think clinics and camps were like, if they did happen, for me, it would help me a lot more, because then I'm in a group where we're all working for the same thing and we're competing against each other.
Yeah, exactly.
I had no competition. If I messed up the pass to my trainer, he was a little bit older. If I messed up the pass, it would take 10 minutes for us to go get the ball and come back.
Exactly.
I had no competition. I had no one playing against me. It was just me doing a training by myself and playing a game that's super competitive and super, you got to play with each other, and you got to have that chemistry with each other. Doing stuff on your own, it does help to a certain point to better your, like, basically what you said, to like better your ability. So like what you're good at, to make it stronger in that like perspective. But doing the camps and clinics, if I had the chance to do that, I think that would have benefited me way more than doing the private sessions and doing the one-on-ones and doing my own sessions and doing my own training, because I'm not competing with anyone.
Exactly.
It's not fun if I'm competing like against someone. If I'm going 1v1 against him and I just learned this, if I beat him, okay, I accomplished it.
Yeah.
If I score a goal on a keeper, I accomplished. That's my goal, to score. If I'm scoring an open goal, there's no keeper.
Yeah, exactly.
If I shoot the ball in the middle of the goal 10 times, the ball's gonna go in the middle of the goal. No, if I have a keeper there, then he's gonna save 10 times.
Last thing, we talked about the importance of training, developing outside of training sessions, going to camps, clinics, or simply, going to your one-on-one training sessions, or training by yourself, or training with groups. And obviously, the last bit was self-reflect and self-evaluate. Do you think you've gotten the majority of what you hope for when you self-reflect, self-evaluate, from what you went from your training sessions, utilizing, those two key areas to help you get into training sessions and so on? Because I know, I think, expectations are very, very high when you're a kid, and obviously when you're getting older. Self-training was one of the things that you really desired to do. But the camps and clinics, I think they were super special. I didn't really attend too many, but I know they're organized to support you in the way where, to help reach your goals with a group. Yeah. So you're not really alone. You're not really. Yeah, that's the
thing. Like having a group, I think was so much better.
What about a group of friends? I know my friends and I, we all have the common thing of wanting to play at the highest level possible, and be here, be there, and whatnot. And yeah, some players reached it, some players did. Do you think those two areas, really played a key part into why you went to the field, what you got from one-on-one sessions, or simply, what you got from camps or clinics? I know camps and clinics weren't really around when we were younger, but I think, the self-reflect and self-evaluation, did it play a key part in your development?
I think it did play a key element, like you said. Because throughout the years of training, I always was evaluating myself, and I had my father who played professionally, so he was evaluating me.
Yeah.
So you have two minds evaluating one player, and it always helped me. But yeah, I think evaluating myself through also the private sessions and the one-on-ones. I didn't do the clinics. I think it would have been the same. I don't think it would have changed. I would have evaluated myself either way, just from the person I am and the player. But I think it would have helped me, and The player I am today definitely helped because I also evaluated myself through the one-on-ones and through the team ones. Because what I did with the one-on-ones and the private sessions that I had, I and then implemented it on the team. So I had evaluations from what I did with the one-on-ones and went to the team, did my evaluations from that and the games and the sessions with the club. So I think it all overall, like in a big bubble, it all like came in together, thankfully. But I think having the clinics also in the camps, it would have played a way bigger part and would have been able to value myself a little bit better. Like I said, the one-on-ones you can't really evaluate if you're not going up against a competitor.
Yeah.
You're not going up against competition. You're just going up against you, which is you want to be the best you can be and get yourself to the highest level you want to get to. But it's a little bit better if you have a competition in front of you, if you have someone to play against, if you have something to play. And I mean, at the time, it's all about fun. Like at a young age, for me, it was always about just having fun and enjoying playing it. Like to today, I always enjoy playing it. But at a young age, I think having that perspective, having the camps and clinics and a group interactive would played a bigger part in my development and my evaluating myself.
For sure. And I think that's one of the things that is important as well, is just reminding yourself why you're playing the game, and finding out what brings the joy and fun to it. Because I think there's a lot to it as well. Like you said, there's the competitive side, there's the fun side, and obviously there's the experimenting side in the game. I think that's about it. I'm not too sure, how critical you were while evaluating yourself or self-reflecting. I know people tend to get a little bit obsessive and a little bit too, critical about it. But I think it's at the end of the day, I think it's just important. It's just finding. I think not saying everything is wrong today. So it's
you gotta find a balance.
Yeah, you find that balance of one thing that you really look back on, whether that's self-reflection or the self-evaluating, and say, hey, look, I could do this better the next time. And this is how I'm going to do it better, and the reason why you want to do it better. And I think that's
that reason is the most important.
Yeah, I think that reason helps you even enjoy the game a little bit more, because I feel like if you're constantly struggling, you're going to be running into that problem without a solution, and it's going to start getting to a point where it takes away from yourself. It takes away the joy, it takes away the competition, it takes away the fun, and it starts to become a little bit more. I think it would become less enjoyable at that point then, right?
And that's what you don't want. Even as a professional player, I'm sure they still get butterflies on game day. There's no way they can't.
Yeah.
Playing, massive stadiums with massive number of people, it's insane that, they can't get a little nervous and a little, even though they play that game for 10, 12 years, the same thing, it's the same field, the same stadium, some of the same fans, still, just having that, that inside you, I'm pretty sure, even Marcelo from Real Madrid said that, he still gets butterflies, and the day that, he stopped getting them, that's the day that he knew he, needed to end.
I think Freddie Youngberg, when he was playing at Arsenal, he came over to play in the MLS. He was the same thing. He was preparation and self-evaluation, self-reflecting were the one things that kept me moving forward, kept me developing. I think if he said at one point, he was I stopped enjoying preparation. I stopped enjoying self-reflecting. Stopped, enjoying the self-evaluation. That's what led me to retire, because I think that's a huge part to, continue to want more, to continue to want that, that feeling of, playing and having that fun and joy. And it's pretty important to, kind of, look along those lines and say, hey, what's going to keep me going? What's going to keep me moving forward as a player, as a person? We don't really want to obviously go down the path where it's just finding everything that's wrong and then what's not making it fun. But it's what's going to support you in a positive way to be a better player and better, obviously, teammate and person. But I think that's about it for today. If there's any questions that any players or parents have from St. Carlos United, please reach out, and we're more than welcome to kind of answer those questions in any way possible. We're obviously looking forward to our next meeting and interviews that we have. I think we will have another one with an audio interview, so we're looking forward to that as well. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I gotta edit this.